that's 28 degrees, I'm going to call that. 28 degrees. Hopefully that'll be enough. Starting mileage 5997. 5997. I was watching the Civil War documentary by Ken Burns. You guys familiar with that one? Back in the 80s, they came out with that. And I've seen it several times, but I hadn't seen it in a while. So I figured I'd refresh my memory. And I did a binge watch thing on Netflix. I'll tell you a couple of things that I learned again. The song Dixie was written by a Northerner. I didn't know that. I had no idea that Dixie was written by a Northerner. Another thing I didn't know is that, well, I kind of knew this, but it was confirmed again. Lincoln thought that Dixie was one of the best songs he ever heard, which I think is pretty funny when you think about it. And Shelby Foote, who is a very famous Civil War historian, he had a quote from a captured rebel soldier. The Yankee soldier was talking to him. He says, "Why are you fighting us here in Tennessee?" And the rebel said, "Because y'all are down here." It wasn't, "I'm fighting to keep my slaves." Most of the soldiers who fought on the southern side didn't actually own slaves. Maybe the generals did, but the regular privates didn't. Which I think is hilarious. So that's an interesting fact. I got in this big flame war with some guy on here on the YouTubes. It was a video I watched. It was a Southern soldier, a rebel soldier, who was like 100 years old back in 1915 or something. And he was basically talking about why people like him fought in the war. And he said it wasn't for slavery. It was for states' rights. That was the motivation for them at that time. They thought that the federal government was being too powerful and dictatorial, so they decided that they would stand up against it and secede from the Union and make their own country. As a matter of fact, they were so much in favor of states' rights that Georgia threatened several times to secede from the secession. They thought that Richmond was too powerful and being too dictatorial, and they said that's not why we left the Union, to have another Union on us. You know what I mean? So they said, well, we'll just secede from the secession movement here, from the Confederacy, which I find rather amusing. I'm very interested in history. I love watching that kind of stuff. History and science, both of them. Oh, that reminds me. A shout out to Suburban Rider for his TDD report. That was very interesting. I love the TDD report from Suburban Rider. Going on 10 years now. That's cool. I apologize, Suburban Rider, if I offended you with my comments on Facebook about Christian acts of terror in the more recent past. And like I said in my post, I wasn't doing it to criticize Christianity or religion itself or anything. It was just when you make a claim saying, you know, for example, if I said Buddhists don't kill anybody, well, you could probably go on Wikipedia and find out where there's a whole lot of Buddhists who kill people. If you say the sun is white, not yellow, you know, scientists will say, well, you know, let me go see if you're right. And they go researching it, and they actually say, yeah, okay, you're right. The sun is white, not yellow. It only looks yellow because of our atmosphere. So you know how people say, oh, if somebody told you the sun was yellow, you disagree with them, you contrarian son of a bloody bastard. And you can say, well, actually, the sun isn't yellow, it's white. When you're in space, it's white. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. So I got this flame war with this kid. With this troll guy. And he actually looked exactly like a troll. It was freaky. I looked him up. And this guy was horrible. He was basically calling me a racist. He was saying, oh, you wish that the South had won the Civil War. I'm like, what are you talking about? When I commented on that guy's, on the original video, saying that's an interesting thing that the soldiers who fought in the Civil War were doing it for states' rights primarily. I mean, I'm sure slavery was in there for them, but for the people on the ground, it was states' rights. Both sides were racist as hell. Both sides saw black people as inferior. Some of the border states in the Union still had slaves. Well, I'm in sixth gear, that's not a good thing. So, all that's true. And the generals who were fighting in the Civil War, they had slaves. And the main reason for the governments to secede was slavery. Yeah, I grant you that, but the foot soldier, I don't think was fighting for slavery. So this guy said, you wish the South had won the Civil War. Actually, that's not even logical. That's called the straw man argument. That's one of the logical fallacies, buddy. And it kept saying, do you want the South to win the Civil War? I'm like, I'm not answering that question because it's a straw man argument. So finally, after back and forth, it's, God damn it, I'm not in favor of the South winning the war. And then he kept saying, well, why don't you just come out and say it? Say what? He wanted me to say the N-word because he thought I was a racist. He was convinced I was a racist. Even though in my post I was talking about how half my family is black. How I'm from the North. God, what a troll. Anyway, this is my Kaylee 7. Let's check my mileage. 60.